everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Becca and today we are going to be doing something so fun. Finally, my kitchen is finished. If you haven't seen that video, I will link it up in the cards so that you can go watch. You can see my beautiful kitchen behind me. Oh my gosh, that was such a big project, but now that it's over, I can focus on doing other fun things, including decorating and transforming the rest of my home. But first, I wanted to do some foraged DIYs. I know that this video is going up in November and we're probably all thinking about Christmas now, but my husband is very against decorating for Christmas before December 1st, which is a character flaw. We're working on it. But with that being said, that does allow me a little bit more time in my year to celebrate fall. And if you didn't know, I just moved to Missouri, which is a place that has real fall, and so I had the opportunity to use real fall items in these DIYs. All of these DIYs are foraged items and just things that I found in my backyard, which is so cool. But if you don't live in an area like this, I'm sure that you can amend these DIYs or even order items online to make up for it so that you can also make these pieces. If you have already started decorating for Christmas, more power to you, but if not, and you're wanting to soak up a little bit more of that fall feeling, and also if you have like 7,000 leaves in your backyard, I think that you will find this one very fun. All right, so without further ado, let's get into these DIYs. So the first couple of DIYs are very inspired by the thousands of leaves I have sitting out in my front yard, in my backyard, and everywhere else around my house. I thought it would be a really fun idea to preserve some leaves because I have been picking up a lot of leaves just because it's so fun to have all these beautiful different types of leaves around my house. This is totally new for me, so I have quite the leaf collection, so I thought that I would try to preserve them. So in my searches on Pinterest, I did find these two images which really inspired me to make these next two DIYs. We are going to be making two different types of leaf hangings similar to a garland but not exactly, so let's get started. For this DIY, you are going to need lots and lots of leaves, beeswax, string, scissors, and a stick. We are going to use the string to tie the leaves that have been waxed onto the stick, and it's going to look really good, I promise. First, you need to melt your wax. I have beeswax in pellets. I got this from the craft store. The pellets melted really fast, so I would recommend them over a block or something like that. And you're going to take your leaves and simply dip them in. All you need to do is have one layer of the beeswax on them, and then that will preserve them, or so I've read online. And all you have to do is dip them in, let them dry out a little bit, like let the excess wax drip off of the leaf and into the pot again, and then you just set them aside on a tray. For some reason, I was expecting it to take a long time for them to dry, but they dried almost instantly, so really you could just hold it over the pot and let it dry and then go on to the next one. But I kind of have a lot of leaves that I'm working with, so I wanted the process to move a little bit faster, so that's why I decided to set them down. This is what they look like after they've been waxed. They look pretty much exactly the same, except they have that soft coating over them. So this is my favorite type of leaf that I find around our property, and I think it's an oak leaf, but just like a different kind. Honestly, I think all of these are different types of oak tree leaves. Correct me if I'm wrong, please. Oh, Cooper, hey. Sorry. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that these are all oak leaves. For some reason, sometimes when I put in a leaf, the beeswax would start to foam, and I have no idea why. If anyone has a clue why that happened, please let me know, because it was very interesting to see like a chemical reaction of sorts. Very cool. Okay, so what I'm doing now is I'm laying out all of the leaves and I'm tying the string to the bark, and then it's going to come down and I'm going to tie the string to the leaf. And I used a really thin string. This is actually thread that I would sew with my sewing machine, and I wanted it to be as thin as possible. I could have opted for something like fishing line, but I don't really know how fishing line reacts, and I do know how this kind of string reacts, so it's a long process, but it's very worth it in the end. It's one of those crafts that you do while listening to a podcast and just kind of zone out. That's what I was doing. As far as the length of the individual strings goes, I was not planning this at all. It turned out really well, actually, and it looked super organic and just fun. Nothing super plotted out or planned, and it turned out really great. here is the final product. This next project doesn't really need a ton of explanation because it's basically the same thing that we just did, except instead of on a branch, I'm doing the same thing in a gold frame. And in hindsight is 2020, I don't really need the glass on this frame because there's a lot of glare at the end of it, and if the glare is going to bother you, you can just take out the glass and have it be an empty frame. But in essence, what I'm doing is I'm using the string again, and I am tying the string to the leaves and then hot gluing the string to the top of the frame. And that's really it. It's really, really cute, super, super simple, even more simple than the first one that we just did because it's on a much smaller scale and the string and the tying is just a lot less, you know what I mean? This one's a lot less time consuming, so if you are looking for just a little project and you have empty frames lying around, this would be a really, really fun one for you to try out as well. And here is the final frame of leaves. For this next DIY, we are going to be making these beautiful felted acorns. I am literally so excited to be making this because I have been obsessing over acorn heads for the last couple of weeks. I cannot stop picking them up. I'm obsessed, so let's get into the DIY. What you're going to need for this DIY is obviously lots of acorn heads and needle felting wool. You can get it at the craft store in lots of different colors, as you can see here, and then you're also going to need hot water and dish soap. So first you're going to pour your hot water, as hot as you can stand, into a bowl and then mix in a little bit of dish soap. And then you froth it all together so you get some suds. And then you're going to be grabbing little bits of wool, as you can see here, pulling it apart, never ever cutting it, because if you cut it, the wool will not be able to bind together because the fibers will be cut. So if you pull it apart and rip it, that will be much easier. So you roll it into a little ball and then you plop it into the water there and you hold it in there for 10 seconds. As you can see here, I'm counting to 10 because that, I guess, is the magic number. Once it's been 5 to 10 seconds, you pull it out of the water and you start to roll it into a ball. And this is the part where the fibers will start to bind together. So next you're going to take it under running water and you're going to get that water as hot as you can stand and you're going to roll it around more and more and more. And as you keep rolling, you'll notice that the wool is starting to get more firm because the fibers are starting to bind together. So what you want to do is start increasing the pressure as you roll, and then you'll see them form a little ball just like this. It's really, really cute. I'm going to do the process one more time just so that you can see it slowed down. So I pulled off some wool, I rolled it in my hands. This is actually like way too much wool. You don't want that much, especially if you want it to fit in the tiny acorn head. I realized that I made a lot of mine like way too big, so I've got some fat acorns in this DIY. But anyway, you roll it around after it sits in that hot water, and then you take it over to the sink and you rinse it out. I'm not exactly sure what the dish soap does, to be honest with you. Maybe it helps bind. I really don't know, but I'm gonna trust the system because it definitely worked for me doing it this way. And it was so fun to work with all the different colors. I love the way that these turned out. They are so cute. This was such a fun little thing to do, and I can definitely see myself doing this more in the future. Obviously, this is something that you could buy pre-done, but I wanted to make them a little bit smaller because I wanted to be able to fit them inside of the acorn heads. But honestly, oh my gosh, aren't they so cute? I cannot get over them. So I arranged them all in a rainbow because I love a rainbow, and I went into my acorn stash and I found heads that would match up with the different sizes. I mean, you can see that they're pretty big. They were way too big for the heads. But something that I will tell you, make sure that the acorn heads that you pick have a little stem at the top. That is super important because that is what the glue will bind to when you are actually stringing it onto the garland. Did I say that we're making a garland? I'm not sure if I did. Anyway, we're making a garland, surprise. So I'm just using hot glue to hot glue the hats onto the acorns, and the hot glue honestly like binded really, really well to the wool. I was not expecting that, to be honest with you, but it worked out pretty well. There were a few times where I had to pull off the hat because I didn't pick a hat that had enough of a stem, and I had to start over kind of. So it definitely does work. It was very secure. So when it comes to stringing them on, it's very simple and intuitive. I decided to put some oak leaves in the middle of the garland, just in different sections between like the multiple rainbows, and that's really all there is to it. So I put some glue on the stem, and then I'm going to wrap the string around the stem where that hot glue is, and it is secure. And I used my scissors to gauge how far apart all of these would be from each other. Honestly, I feel like it would have looked better if they were closer together just because these are so small. I feel like small things on a garland should be closer together, but I just wasn't thinking about that. Here's the final product. Oh my gosh, you guys, wasn't that so much fun? I loved these DIYs. It was genuinely so much fun to do all of these things and display all of these beautiful pieces that I found around my backyard. Honestly, they feel like a novelty to me because I am moving from the desert, so perhaps it might not be as exciting for you, but I was so excited to get into these DIYs and make things with leaves and acorns and all these things around my house. Like, I'm honestly living my best life right now. So thank you so much for joining me on this video and doing these crafts with me. I hope that you were inspired to do some yourself, and if you are, make sure that you take a picture and tag me on Instagram. You can tag me either on my De La Plants or on my De La Creations page. De La Plants is for plants, and then De La Creations is more of my DIYs or clothing making festivities and all of those types of things. I really should have one big Instagram to put all of these things on, but honestly, I like to compartmentalize my life, so that's just how I've decided to do Instagram. So anyway, you can go ahead and follow me over there if you are interested in seeing more of my day-to-day life. And thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next one. Bye!